Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Mark, aka the FPL General, to reveal his Game Week 8 team and see how it's changed from our show last week. And also we're going to be looking at the most attacking teams, see how they've changed since we last looked at them back in Game Week 3 or 4, and also who their new talismen are as well. So welcome, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well, Joe. I think we say it every time that international breaks seem to get longer and longer every time we have one, especially when there's so many
Yeah.
in quick succession. So to get through the final week of it, I'm heading away for a couple of days after this video. So back on Thursday and then ready for FPL again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I said last week as well, it's long for me as this particular week because I have no plans to make any transfers. So I'm just sort of waiting to see if anyone gets injured. And then you get all these sort of niggling injuries that aren't really injuries, and it's hard to decipher them. But pretty much I think most so far, we're recording this on Monday, most should be fine. Okay, what I'm going to do is we're going to put your team up for next week, for Game Week 8, and to have a look and see if your plans have changed, you know, considering anything that's happened in international duty, or whether you've just changed your mind about things. Also, we are going to look at as I said, about who these attacking teams are now, who the latest most attacking teams, and importantly, who their most attacking players are as well. And we'll also sort of recap on sort of general fixture plans as well, looking ahead, see if they've changed as well. And that should wrap it up as we look ahead to the deadline, which is this weekend. Do remember to press that like button and do remember to subscribe so you can keep updated with our latest videos and podcasts. And do check out Fantasy Football Scout members area, especially some of the stats tables there to help you climb up your mini leagues. All the information you see in this video is gleaned from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Okay, Mark, let's have a recap of last week as well. So do you want to read out your team as it is for Game Week 8? And last time we spoke, you were tempted by Brennan Johnson and Rico Lewis, and Saliba and Semenyo were possibly the players to make way. So yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just read it out again, benefit of the audio listener. So there's 2 free transfers available and no transfers have been made yet. Fleckens in goal. Double Arsenal defence of Saliba, Gabriel, with Trent. Midfield 5 of Palmer, Saka, Semenyo, Bumo and Rodgers. Saka does have a yellow flag now, but hopefully he'll be okay. Captain Haaland against Wolves. And Calvert-Lewin plays Ipswich away.
Okay.
On the bench, Valdemarson, Mikolenko, Greaves and Showomi.
Okay, so yeah, are those your transfer plans? I mean, has anything particularly changed for you?
Nothing really. I'm not reading too much into these international knocks and niggles. You know, Saka. You know, we talked on. It was last week's video actually that kind of got my juices flowing on the Brennan Johnson, Rico Lewis double transfer idea. And I'm still very keen on that. I know Johnson, he scored but went off at half time with a knock. But again, probably just a knock and hopefully we'll be fine. Pressers Thursday, Friday will be important as always. The early plan when I wildcarded Game Week 6 was maybe Semenyo to McNeil. That's still an option. You know, do that and roll the second free transfer. But the more I think about it, the more I really want Brennan Johnson, and to do so, losing Saliba for Rico Lewis, who's a very tempting, you know, out of position, cheap option for Man City. It just feels like 2 no-brainer transfers. And I'm hoping that Mikolenko recovers quickly as well, because I might need him as a fourth defender if Lewis ever gets 0 minutes. So yeah, that's the plan. I think Johnson and Lewis to come in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got Johnston last week, got a goal off him so far. So far, so good. But yes, he did come up with a knock. You mentioned Saka as well. I think the latest with Saka is that he's obviously didn't feature in the last England game at the weekend against Finland, was back at Arsenal. But the gist we got from Lee Carsley was that he was just being, that he could have played, but he didn't want to risk him. So it was more precautionary. And we've seen that time and again with Saka. And we also saw he wasn't really, he was like slight limp as he was walking past, but there was no protective boot, nothing like that. Yeah, I've no qualms about him. And Brennan Johnson as well it also seems like a knock, seems more precautionary there as well, since he's so important for club and country at the moment.
Yeah, again, just on Saka as well. I mean, it feels like he hasn't been 100% fit for about 2 years. You know, he seems to limp off after 87 minutes in every game. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Of course, we'll keep an eye out for information, but we probably won't get it from Arteta. It's probably other sources we'll be looking for that.
And Haaland has scored a brace, I think it was, on international duty. At least scored on international duty, and his girlfriend is pregnant as well. So we're going to be seeing the baby celebration for club as well as country, I would imagine.
Yeah, I seen, I think it was Andy Martin tweeting about a due date around double game weeks in 34 or 35. So
Yeah,
as someone who's already triple captained him, I'm hoping he
yeah.
maybe misses a game and a double later in the season now.
I saw a tweet, a funny tweet from Tom Glover, who many will know in the community, who was saying that knowing Haaland, she'll be giving birth to triplets. So quite like that. Okay, what we'll do is we'll have a look at the most attacking teams. So we've done this before, and last time we revealed on screen who the talismen were for the most attacking teams, and I got Mark to guess. But this time, you at home can guess as well. So it's not just those on the podcast who have to guess. It's those watching the video as well. And so we'll reference who the previous ones were. But what I found particularly interesting, before we look at these sort of talismen, is just actually the chart here. So this is all matches, and this is based on expected goals for each team. So we've had 7 game weeks so far. So last time I did this was after 4 game weeks. Obviously, some teams will have tougher fixtures since, easier fixtures since, so that will dictate where they go. But we're starting to get, so we've got more data now, so we're starting to get an idea of who the most attacking teams are, and also who the teams who are least attacking are. So what I found quite interesting, the top team is Tottenham, and the second is Chelsea. So the most attacking team with 14 goals, expected goals of 15. It's Tottenham, which is why people like me got Johnson in, why you're considering Johnson. Chelsea, they are up to second as well, expected goals 14.7, but they've actually scored 16, so slightly overperforming, which is why Palmer is of interest to people, and Jackson as well. Now, what's interesting about them, they really have gone up quite a lot. Tottenham were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th. They were the 10th most attacking team. And Chelsea were the 8th most attacking team. So they are top now. And Liverpool and Manchester City have gone down. Arsenal also gone up as well. Arsenal have scored 15 goals, expected goals 13.1. Bournemouth have gone down. Brentford have stayed exactly the same. They are doing exactly what they should be doing, sort of just below those top tier teams, but very attacking. Manchester United gone down. We've seen that. You will have seen that as a fan, Mark, as well. West Ham have gone up. We've got to pay attention to the likes of Bowen, perhaps. Fulham have gone up. Brighton have gone down. That coincides with tougher fixtures for them. Newcastle, exactly the same. 8 goals, expected goals 10. That I found quite interesting. They haven't shot up or down there. Southampton have actually gone up. Aston Villa down. Nottingham Forest's attack have dipped down. So too Crystal Palace, which we've seen they're a bit out of sorts. Everton have gone up slightly, but they're still the 4th worst attacking team. Wolves have gone down. They've gone down just 1 place, but they're still pretty low. They've scored 9, but their expected goals is 6.6. I'm keen on Wolves, and they've had bad fixtures, so I'm take that pinch of salt. Leicester exactly the same, 2nd worst attack. Expected goals 5.1. Ipswich exactly the same. Expected goals 5.1 over all matches. This is exactly the same. They are continue to be the worst. So there's some trends there that are the same, but there's some differences as well. And I'm having to recalibrate how I think about Tottenham and Chelsea, for example.
Yeah, good to get this snapshot after what is it, 7 game weeks. It's a good sample size. Again, like you, I would have guessed that Tottenham and Chelsea would not have been above, Liverpool, City, and Arsenal. So definitely something to take note of. I know the numbers are quite close here, but still pretty impressive that they're up there after 7 game weeks. Bournemouth as well, what's that, 6th place is very, very high for them. I wouldn't have predicted that at the start of the season. Likewise, Brentford, good to see them there as an Mbeumo owner. I know some people have got the likes of Shada and Carvalho now as well. And then, towards the bottom, the big surprise probably Crystal Palace going into the season. We would have thought they'd be top 10, definitely. Eze's kind of dropped down in our thoughts. Villa and Newcastle are down there as well, kind of just below the middle section. So I know Isak and Wilson have been injured, so maybe that doesn't help. But it's good to get an idea of how things are going.
Yeah, I mean, Aston Villa going down, I found particularly interesting. They've had pretty good fixtures. And they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. They were the 5th best attack. and they've moved down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I should put the numbers on 6, 7, 8. I mean, they're bottom half now. So just 10 expected goals, considering Tottenham, for example, 15 expected goals over that period. Still good. I mean, 10 expected goals is still double Leicester and Ipswich. You're still getting an attacking team. But I did find that interesting considering... So I feel okay with Rodgers in my team. And it doesn't make me think, ooh, I must get Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was going to say. The expected goals is 10 for Villa, but they do have 12 goals, which is not too far off the bigger teams. And
Yeah.
I think with expected goals, you've always got to take, the quality of players into account. If you see
Yeah.
an expected numbers figure for a Watkins versus maybe a newly promoted striker, it's slightly different. So yeah, I think most people are probably going to maybe swerve Watkins for now, or maybe get rid of him
Yeah.
because he's maybe not in the top 3 or 4 of the
Yeah.
premium assets. So hasn't been in my team for a while, and probably won't be for another couple of weeks.
And another interesting, so Arsenal were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 7th worst or 13th best attack. So their attack wasn't quite gelling. I mean, Saka was getting us consistent returns. But in terms of output, their expected goals, but their expected goals have gone up quite considerably. So they're 1, 2, 3, 4. They're now the 5th best, and I consider go up. So a lot of people have got Havertz and Saka, for example. Even though there's bad fixtures to come, I do think that's quite... I think you should feel... It makes me start to think I might keep Havertz, for example. And I certainly am keeping Saka. But yeah, it's good to see Arsenal moving up because that's what we like as FPL managers. Teams and players doing what they should do because we can then second guess them.
Yeah, Saka's definitely a long-term hold for me if there's no injury issues, which I don't expect there to be. The Havertz one, so it's no surprise the Arsenal jumping up here because they had that Leicester Southampton double fixture back to back, which
Yeah.
obviously improved the numbers significantly. And Havertz really shone in the numbers in those 2 game weeks. So if I was an owner, I'd be quite reluctant to let him go. I know there's probably players out there with better fixtures, etc. But Havertz is probably one of the very few players at the moment that I don't own that I wish I did own. I went for double Arsenal defence, didn't work out. Havertz has performed better, and I just think he looks a really good option. So Havertz could be a long-term hold as well.
Yeah, I think that as well. And I was starting to think, Havertz to Kuna, that would work because I quite fancy Kuna or Strand Larson for Wolves. But now I'm starting to think, well, I've got, Chris Wood, for example. I'm starting to think, well, I might as well just keep that price point around then and keep Havertz. And Havertz could be a hold. Could be I dare to say season keeper, but he could be a long-term hold, which means he could be an asset to pick up. A player of interest. Okay, let's have a go at guessing some talisman as well. So Tottenham, they've shot up there. Their previous talisman was Maddison. Who is their new talisman? Or current talisman?
Brennan Johnson and Solanke have been doing well recently, but I'm pretty sure Madison is still number 1.
Yeah. Good guess. With 108.8 minutes per expected goal involvement. That's pretty much a goal involvement a match. Very good. Who is Chelsea's? They've shot up. It was Jackson, but who is their new talisman?
It definitely can't be Jackson anymore, given that Mr. Palmer had all the big chances and all the goals recently. So Palmer, I'm sure, has overtaken Nico Jackson.
It's still Jackson. He is his minutes per expected goal involvements every night. You were really shocked, aren't you? Every 95.7 minutes, and Palmer's is something around the 98 minutes. Very close. Palmer has gone up, but that does take into account those previous matches where up until say for example prior to the Brighton game, where his expected goal involvement wasn't as high, and it's still marginally Jackson, which makes me think
Surprised.
I'm okay not owning Palmer, but.
There was me confident of getting 20 out of 20, and I've slipped up already.
Yeah. So that surprised me. I thought it'd be Palmer. I didn't think Jackson was still actually putting up some good numbers. So if you own Jackson and you don't have Palmer yet, you can feel confident, even though they've got tough fixtures coming up at the moment. Okay, who is next there? So we've got Liverpool up next. So Liverpool's was Salah. I mean, am I going to get...
Still Salah.
It's still Salah. Yes, of course it is. Yeah, so well done there. So every 108.8 minutes. Man City, I mean, we can probably get sketch over this one as well. Man
It's the
City.
easiest of all.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland.
Yeah, it is indeed. It was Haaland, still is Haaland, and he's got the best minutes per expected goal involvement, as you would imagine, every 91.1 minutes goal involvement. Again, definitely from him. Arsenal, it was Saka, but who is the new Arsenal talisman?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's still Saka, but Havertz has probably improved quite a bit.
Indeed, yeah, Havertz has improved. We've just spoken about him, but Saka every 108.6 minutes, a very good. Now, Bournemouth could be interesting. It was Semenyo, and they were very, very attacking. They've gone down a little bit, but still an attacking side. Who is their new talisman?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Semenyo. I think he's still been pretty good, so I think he's probably still first.
It is. Now, this is going to surprise you. Ivan Ilson, their new striker. So he has gone up. He's rocketed above Semenyo. So Semenyo's dipped in terms of expected goal involvement. And the guy who's playing at number 9 has gone up. So that is something I am going to be monitoring when Bournemouth's fixtures improve. I've got Semenyo. I'm going to keep him, bench him. And then when their fixtures get better, keep playing him. But if Evan Nilsson, who is better, it ends up being the talisman and significantly better in FPL points than Semenyo, I'll be looking at him every 142 minutes. So not as strong as the others, but still quite strong. Sort of a goal involvement every game and a half. We'll call that there. Brentford wasn't Bomo. Who is it now?
Got to be Mbomo.
Yeah, it still is. Well done. Every 128 minutes. There, okay. Manchester United. I'm just trying to find them on the previous. Yeah, it was Bruno Fernandes, the darling of Analytics FC. They're still clinging on to his returns. Is he still their talisman?
Yeah, he's probably the only one who's doing anything. So yeah, got to be still Bruno.
It's by minutes per expected goal involvement while he's on the pitch. It's not Fernandes. It's Xerxes. So Xerxes has overtaken. Now, what that doesn't say, wow, Xerxes really good. That says Fernandes' expected goal involvement has plummeted. So he was very high, and that means he's gone down there. So has he been replaced by Xerxes? I mean, that's Analytics FC. Watch this. Have a look at some data and perhaps correct those Bruno Fernandes should be in your team type advice there. So West Ham, it was surprisingly Souček last time. Who is it now?
Souček has still been popping up, but I'm going to say Jared Bowen's probably overtaken him, has he?
He has gone up, but it is still Souček. So Bowen's good, but he's not Souček good. So Souček, minutes per expected goal involvement every 176.5 minutes. Goal involvement every other game. Not bad for 5 million midfielder. I'm always keen on him, and we've spoken about him before. Fulham, it was Traore. So who is the talisman now of Fulham? Considering they've gone up, they're more attacking.
Yeah, the man who's been getting more minutes probably Raul Jimenez now.
Indeed, well done. Every 115 minutes there. So Jimenez is not only getting the minutes, he's getting the goal involvement. And every 115 minutes, that's getting on for nearly a goal involvement a game, which is pretty strong considering he's only, 5.5? Well, he started at 5.5. I'm sure he's gone up now. Brighton, looking there. Brighton were more attacking. They've gone down. It was Matoma. Who is the new Brighton talisman that we should be perhaps considering from Game Week 12 onwards?
I was almost going to just automatically say Pascal Gross there, given how much he's been up there the last couple of years.
He did appear on the pitch this last match in a suit and being paraded around.
He's still not able to let Brighton go. I'm gonna say Danny Welbeck possibly.
Oh, good, well done, nice one. So you can feel pleased about that one. I can tell you're still smarting about the Palmer thing. So
I'm fuming about question 2.
So Welbeck every 156.9 minutes. I mean, there's still a feeling. They've got Pedro's out. Ferguson's not quite up to speed, but Welbeck, for his. I mean, I say for his age, but he's still pretty young still. And I think we just have to we have to change our philosophy for players like this. Welbeck isn't currently, and hasn't been for a long time, that that injury prone player that he was at Arsenal, Manchester United. He looks like the best player. Well, he is on paper the best player at Bayern, but he looks better than all the younger players there.
Yeah, I always say you should try and we say play the season in front of you and try and play as if there was no previous seasons ever played before. And if you're looking at Premier League for the first time this season, you're looking at Danny Welbeck and he's been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, at the moment he looks a very viable pick. I actually have him in another format. I've kind of had him on my bench most of the season, but he's subbed in and done very well for me.
Yeah, I think if I had him in my team, fixtures schmixtures, I would just play him because he can get a goal any game. So I would definitely. So he's on my radar. But if Pedro's back, you would think on penalties better. But I don't know. Danny Welbeck still playing. Newcastle, they're exactly the same as they were. It was Gordon. Who is it? Who is it now?
Yeah, there's no one really else there at the moment, so probably still Gordon.
Yeah, indeed. Aston Villa, it was Ollie Watkins, but they've slipped down. But who is their new talisman in terms of expected minutes per expected goal involvement?
You're saying who is their new talisman, so it's not Watkins anymore. So
That's annoying of me to do that. But
yeah,
okay. After the Chelsea one, you can. I'll allow that slip from me.
I'm going to say, I think what's been stopping me on these is trying to think of players that are maybe not on the pitch that often, but are getting good numbers when they are on the pitch. So somebody like Leon Bailey, but I don't think I'm right.
No, it's few. Spare my blessings. Duran.
Ah, yeah.
Every 100 minutes. So equivalent, if he did start, he's a goal involvement a game player. So maybe he will start. I mean, Watkins is still good, but I think if you Duran has not been a bad asset to own, even though he hasn't got the starts as well. Now Southampton, they were tricky. I mean, how bad was this? It was Sugawara was their talisman. So who is Southampton's new talisman that could be an option, or old talisman, new or old? Is it Sugawara still?
It's definitely not. Surely it's not still Sugawara. If it is still Sugawara, they may as well just go back to the championship already. Dribbling's been very exciting, but I'm going to say his numbers are probably not that good. So Cameron Archer, maybe?
It is, indeed. Well done. Every 125 minutes. He's getting on for nearly a goal involvement a game in expected minutes, which isn't bad. Southampton, they have gone up. So we should be perhaps thinking about players like Archer and Dibbling if we want to fill those gaps in our team. I'm not saying they're great options, just they can do a job, which could be good. Nottingham Forest have gone down. Their talisman was, I'm trying to find it, was Chris Woods, who is their latest talisman.
Was and surely still is Chris Wood.
Yes, it is indeed. In my team, goal on my bench last week. So this is it. But he is literally a goal every other game. He scores one week, blanks the next, scores, blanks, blank. And we're in that cycle. So I'm hoping he can break that cycle. Or perhaps there's a new cycle where it's blank, score, brace. And we're in a brace cycle. And then every 8 weeks he braces. So who knows?
Hopefully for your sake.
Crystal Palace, it was Eze, but they have, as everyone can see on the pitch, slipped down. Is it still Eze? Who is their latest talisman?
Yeah, again, this is a hard one because they're not doing much, so I'm just going to stick with Eze.
Yep, indeed, yep. Everton as well. Now, they have pretty much, they've gone up a little bit, but they're pretty much still one of the worst attacks here. It was McNeil. Is it still McNeil? Who's their latest talisman?
Yeah, I would say it's still McNeil.
Yep, indeed, true. We're racing through some of these. Wolves have slipped down. Their talisman was Kuna. Who is their latest talisman?
Yeah, still being passed the eye test, so I presume his numbers are still good as well.
Yeah, Kuna. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get Kuna in. It just depends which striker makes way for him. But I think for me, the GAMEWEEK 9 is as soon as GAMEWEEK 9 even, I might go for him. But their fixtures,
it's Man City next, and then it's good, isn't it?
And it just goes good until like Boxing Day, at the end of the year. So I like that. That's like I can just leave them in. I can't see him being rotated. He's clearly their their best player. But Strand Larson could get rotated, but I like him as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they've both looked good. Strand Larsen's been I've been very impressed by him this season, having not really seen much of him before. But Cunha I just think is a class act, and I've kind of earmarked my Calvert-Lewin position. If that continues to fail,
Yeah.
it'll be Cunha very soon, I think.
Leicester continue to be the second worst attack. Jamie Vardy was briefly popular for some fantasy managers. Is he still the talisman to get?
It's probably the hardest question yet. Yeah, I'll stick with him.
It's not. It's Mavididi, who I've seen in a number of teams actually, and so they're quite
my next
wise.
guess.
They're quite wise to do that. I mean, his minutes per expected goal involvement's low, every 220 minutes, so that's barely every other game. Buonanotte, I would recommend as well. He was great at Brighton, but obviously there's a lot of sort of attacking players in his role, and so he's moved to Leicester, but. He just always, to me, maybe it's a bias, but he looks like the most likely, the best player they've got in attack there. So Buonanotte, I think, is a really good differential, but Mavididi, well done those that have got him in your teams as an enabler. He's done the job.
Yeah, I think they're probably both decent enablers. Mavididi's doing the business. He's got the numbers, but like you, I watched a couple of Leicester games this season when Buonanotte was on the pitch, and I just think he really stood out. He was kind of a class above the rest. So he's certainly a good option as well.
Okay, and the worst attacking side, Ipswich. It was Ipswich. It continues to be Ipswich. It was Leif. They were so poor that Leif Davis was their talisman. Who is their latest talisman?
Probably the goal scorer these days is probably Delap now.
He is good, but it is still Davis. Because I guess it's because in terms of expected goal involvement, minutes per expected goal involvement, I think he is whatever goes into the metrics of expected goals. It was deemed that perhaps got chances that perhaps he shouldn't. I mean, some of them goals maybe should have got, but maybe there was it was quite low on the expected stats there. But yeah, still marginally Davis. But yes, obviously Delap, I think, is a very good option still.
Yeah, I like them both. I like Delap as a cheap striker, and again, I'm talking about Rico Lewis coming into my team. If it wasn't Rico Lewis, it probably would be Leif Davis in that spot.
And remember, this is obviously those watching and listening. This is goal involvement, which includes assists as well. So Leif Davis is the man most likely to create those goals there. Anyway, I thought that was quite. I mean, I certainly found it interesting when I was compiling that, and I wouldn't have got 20. I would have got Jackson wrong. Definitely, I would have said Palmer, and Palmer's very close, and I expect him. All it'll take is a slight tweak, next week, and he'll be their talisman, and he will be thereafter, I would imagine. But yeah, some of them, and some of them, the ones that are dipping down, it shows how low Fernandez has gone as an asset, which is a shame. But he's clearly no longer the FPL asset he was.
Yeah, we probably need a new manager at Old Trafford before we can invest in Bruno again.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we've got about another 5-10 minutes to go. So what we do is just have a look at the fixtures as well. So we did this last week, and but we're just to see how they've changed a bit, because it's something I still keep looking at over the international break. I still keep looking at this patchwork quilt of fixtures. It's sorted by difficulty from game weeks 8 to 14. And just to remind people, they show that Everton, Leicester, Ipswich, remember, they are amongst the worst attacking sides. Nevertheless, they've got the best fixtures. Brentford are still riding high there. Their fixtures, I don't know, I don't even know when they're going to turn. But I need to look far in advance. But I think it's not. I mean, game week 14 away to Aston Villa looks like their worst fixture. I mean, it seems like for an age. So Brentford continue investing there. Crystal Palace still strong, but they just can't attack, as we just found. Their attack is down. They're just not quite gelling. Manchester United, their fixtures are really strong. Now, this is going to really test fantasy managers like yourself. I mean, probably not you, but other Manchester United managers will be. I still hear it on podcasts and with content talk. I mean, I don't even see Manchester United as a thing in FPL at the moment. But they still talk, they've got good fixtures. They've got Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea, Leicester, Ipswich, Everton. up to game week 13. Good run of fixtures, but yeah.
Doesn't really matter if you have good fixtures if you're not really functioning as a
No.
team and the manager's under pressure. And I was FPL, if you look at it as investments, that's not where
Yeah.
you want your money to be in the stocks at the moment. So
Fulham, interesting. Their fixtures do turn a little bit. They've had a bit of a dip, but they after Aston Villa, they've got Everton, Brentford, Crystal Palace, and Wolves, then Tottenham, but then Brighton at home. Jimenez is now their talisman, so they've got a new talisman. But they've also got Traore, they've got Smith Rowe, they've got Robinson, and I part of me I just wish I'd kept some Fulham assets and just park them and just play them in this run. I miss Robinson. He was great.
yeah, Robinson's good. They've got so many good assets, and they're a match. They're a match for anyone on their day. They're a good team, well coached. I really hope that this is the Adama Traore redemption arc season. He's putting in the numbers. He's getting his little tips from Pep Guardiola. So
Yeah.
hopefully he takes those tips over the international break, puts it all together, and then comes out against Villa and bangs in a brace. So yeah, I think we'll start seeing Traore starting to pop up in teams now. If people are trying to make a big move, trying to fit in all the premiums, Traore's probably your friend if you're trying to do that.
I did a wild card video last week, as if I was wildcarding game week 8, and I started off thinking, and I think from this chat as well last week, I didn't think game week 8 was very good. I thought game week 6 was good. I thought game week 12 was good in terms of fixtures and sort of setting up a team, and I still think that's the case. I think game week 12 is a very good week to wildcard, but after I made the team, and I do this thing on the FPL planner on the app where I click that team for game week 9, 10, 11, 12. So I did it all the way up to there. And I didn't make a single change. I looked at that team. I just thought, well, I've just got that player on the bench to move in. And part of that was the great fixtures for Tottenham and Wolves as well. So I'm going to mention those two here because they're both sort of mid-table in terms of season difficulty. But Wolves, after Man City, have got Brighton, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, and so it goes on right up until the end of the year. Tottenham have got West Ham at home, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Ipswich. They do have Man City, but it gets better again. Fulham, Bournemouth. So they've got a really good run apart from that City game. And so I centred a lot of my team on that. I've got Van de Ven, Brennan Johnson, Nori, and Kuna in that team. And when they had a bad fixture, I just parked them and then moved them in. And that enabled me to not make any changes. So I started to think, Game Week 8's really good week to wildcard. And because we've got these teams, but people in the comments were going, oh, recommending 2 Wolves players. I switched off. Cheers, mate. You're obviously really, really stable in your life. That you like, I don't like that. I'm going to turn it off. And so, but I do think Wolves fixtures will improve. And so you're already thinking Brennan Johnson. What are you thinking about how you're going to change your team to get a Wolves asset in, or are you going to bother?
No, I think there's every chance I will. And I know, Gary O'Neill's under pressure, but he's had such rough, difficult fixtures,
Yeah.
and I hope they don't jump too quickly with him and just stick with him because I like him as a coach and he was really good towards the end of last season. Give him a few good fixtures and I'm sure he can steady the ship there. He's got good players, so Cunha can quite easily move in for Calvert-Lewin if Calvert-Lewin continues to frustrate me, even though he's top of the fixture ticker with Everton. It was always going to be a position that was, if he, it's easy to change him out. There's plenty of other options, and if Cunha's got better fixtures and I rate him more as a player, then I'll happily make the move. I also really like Eight Nuri, as most FPL managers do. Really attacking, already got attacking returns this season. Again, I talked about Rico Lewis, I talked about Leif Davis, and Eight Nuri's right up there as well. If I didn't fancy Rico Lewis, I could go Eight Nuri, bench him this week. But the problem there is there's doubts over Mikalenko. I could play Greaves this week and have Eight Nuri on the bench, and then he's in for the good run of fixtures. So that's what I'm going to consider as well.
Definitely. Nottingham Forest are interesting. They've got Crystal Palace at home, Leicester away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home. I mean, these are good fixtures. Just checking how many teams Chris Woods played for out of those. Just Newcastle, I believe, out of those 4. But nevertheless,
Leicester, I think he's played for Leicester,
has he? Oh God, he has, hasn't he? Yeah. So Chris Wood against one of his old teams, he does do quite well. So I'm quite pleased. I'm gonna keep. I think I might end up keeping him, which may mean I don't get Kuna in. Because I don't think of it as the person. I just think of it as the slot. I've got a third striker, and if they're gonna got a good fixture and might score, so definitely interested. But Arsenal game week 12, that's when I'll be looking to probably offload him.
Yeah.
And
Just on Chris Wood, I'm actually quite jealous of your Chris Wood because I feel like he's one of the best FPL assets to own because people are reluctant to get him.
yeah,
Even when he scores, people are still reluctant to get him. People doubt him all the time, and he just scores goals. He's done it his whole career.
yeah.
And yeah, again, I went Calvert-Lewin. It hasn't worked out too well, and Chris Wood's certainly performing better. I just think he could be you could have him all season.
Yeah, he's a goal in another game. I mean, literally a goal every other game. And so, I mean, I'll take that for 6 million. I mean, he's a good player to have. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hope he stays with me. Because yeah, he's very unfashionable because he's seen as an old-fashioned striker, but he's just a reliable striker. He's just bothersome in the box, and
He just knows how to put the ball in the back of the net, which
definitely.
is one of the hardest things to do.
Arsenal, I sort of skipped Arsenal and Southampton. Southampton's fixtures are quite strong, actually. They've got Leicester. They do have City, game week 9, but then they've got Everton and Wolves. Then Liverpool, bad, but then Brighton and Chelsea. So I can see why Archer, Dibbling could be good enablers there. But it's Arsenal I found it interesting, and they're sort of pivotal to a lot of people's plans. I'd sort of earmarked Saka out to Palmer, perhaps, or Salah, probably Salah. But I because their fixture, they've got Bournemouth away, but then they've got Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea. Then it gets good again with Nottingham Forest in game week 12. But I'm just going to keep Saka, and Saka's in your team, and
Yeah.
you've got Palmer as well. But is Saka just gonna just stay until he's no longer functions?
Yeah, because I think the main reason is I don't have any desire really to go to Salah, and I'm not really keen on Foden at the moment, and Son's had a few injury niggles, so there's kind of a lot of reasons why Saka's just going to stay. I've got Palmer in place, so I don't need to make that switch either. More concerning for me is I went double Arsenal defence for Leicester, Southampton, and maybe this Bournemouth game. Obviously 0 clean sheets so far, and I've got Flecken, who I don't really like and never really wanted to choose, but just played the fixtures. So that's why when I look at Bournemouth is okay this week, but they could even score against Arsenal. They're pretty good in attack. It's more so Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea.
Yeah.
That stretch of 3 games. Quite happy to play Gabriel in all those games, but I'm not sure I want the double up. So if losing Saliba allows me to get Johnson and also allows me to get Havertz or Raya in game week 12, then that just makes a lot of sense to me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a setup with Palmer and Saka, just Saka and Haaland. But if I wanted Palmer, I've got to make sacrifices, say Havertz, for example, down to Kuna, for example. So that may mean I probably do that. But even though we spoke about Havertz earlier, just in Chelsea a bit further down, they've got Leicester away, Aston Villa at home, Southampton away. So it's the start of a good run, really. And at the same time, Manchester City, who are much higher here in terms of fixture difficulty. They've got Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton. But then from game week 12, they've got Tottenham and Liverpool. So they've just got this bad two sort of okay, not great fixtures for them. So there will be people looking to move Haaland and to move to that Palmer, Saka, double up in midfield. But Man City got Nottingham Forest at home in game week 14. I'd be looking elsewhere. For me, Haaland, I don't look at those fixtures and think, oh, Haaland's got like one bad fixture, I'm going to remove him because he's gone up in price. But so we spoke about your structure of your team, those Saka, Palmer, Haaland, and how it was restrictive of other things. So, for example, it meant you couldn't get, couldn't get a particular, more expensive striker. But I'm starting to think I might move more to your structure. Because I feel that Palmer and Saka could do damage. Haaland can do damage. I'm just going to have to live without Salah.
Yeah, I kind of just made peace. Yeah, I made peace with 2 things. Number one, I don't mind not having Salah. I don't think anyone is ever essential, and there's always other options. And the other thing was I made peace with just having 2 strikers, and one of them being Haaland, and then just whoever the other one is. I just felt there was so many more midfield options. and there always is in
Yeah.
FPL. There's extra slots there, obviously. So yeah, I'm quite happy I made the switch, and it's easy to say that after Palmer did what he did, but it's always encouraging when you've got a setup that you hear other people thinking about moving towards.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
feel like you're maybe hopefully one step ahead.
Yeah.
But I would still like people like Calvert-Lewin to start doing something.
Definitely. So we're going to wrap up quickly. I'll just go through these a few other teams down the bottom of this season ticker here. Chelsea, because they've got Liverpool and Arsenal in the next 4, but then they've got this good run with Leicester, Aston Villa, Southampton. I say, Aston Villa, good team, but from an attacking point of view, they're still conceding. Aston Villa themselves, very patchy run. They got Fulham and Bournemouth, great, and then they got Tottenham, Liverpool, Crystal Palace, good, then Chelsea, bad, Brentford at home, okay. So yeah, their sort of fixtures turn a bit. Newcastle as well, their fixtures very mixed. Got Brighton at home, and then Chelsea and Arsenal, and then Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Crystal Palace, and then Liverpool. So very mixed. Brighton they're just bad until game week 12 when they've got. They do have Wolves at home in game week 9, but they've got Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham, and quite a nice run from game week 12. So that's sort of when we can start looking at Brighton enablers there, which it coincides with those for me, like me, who want to perhaps get Palmer in their team. They can do that then with those enablers. And Bournemouth, they've got these 3 bad fixtures, and we spoke at length last week about Semenyo, what to do there. I'm parking him. You can get rid of him. Arsenal, Aston Villa, Man City. But then it goes Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, and I believe quite good fixtures until Easter. And Liverpool, finally, you mentioned about Salah. Both of us have sort of slightly made peace not having Salah. I do want him for that Brighton at home game, though, and that Southampton away game. But he has Arsenal, he has Aston Villa, he has Chelsea, he has Man City, he has Newcastle, right up to game 14. It's just, I think I guess Alexander-Arnold is the player I'm going to keep. I mean, we saw his free kick for England, and that just said to me, look, he's just going to stay.
Yeah, I think he'll be a long-term one for me as well. I really don't. My fixtures don't bother me with Trent or any Liverpool asset. Really, they're just a great team and function really well under the new manager. So I've got no concerns about that slot. I'll be much quicker to move Saliba than I will be Trent. So, but I think it is important for people. We shouldn't just. We've made peace that we don't want Salah, but when you look at that 3-game run of Brighton, Villa, both at home, and then Southampton, it's really good. So if you can get there, it probably makes sense. So keep an open mind on Salah if you don't have him.
But it will mean a sacrifice. It could be Saka, it could be Palmer, it could be Haaland even. And I think anyone who owns any of those players may be reluctant. But Saka to Salah is still an option, I think, possibly. Maybe.
Yeah, could be a jump off someone and jump back on possibly. But it's obviously if you've got 3 or 4 transfers at the moment, you're probably, if you've got that luxury, it's easier to do so.
Definitely. Well, thanks a lot for that, Mark. It's good to get your views on the talisman and the attacking teams, but also recap on your thoughts. You will have another FPL General 59th minute show this week, I presume.
Yeah, one just came out just on Saturday over the weekend, and there'll be another one on Friday when I get back.
There's plenty more content coming this week. Scoutcast, burning questions. I'll be around with Tom. I'll reveal my team as well. Team news as well with Neil at the end of the week. So lots and lots of videos and podcasts to help you prepare for Game Week 8 from Fantasy Football Scout. Thanks a lot for your time. Do press that like button. Do remember to subscribe. Take care. See you soon.
Bye-bye.